Reddit, what made you realize that you were dating an absolute idiot? Story 1. We were having dinner. When I mentioned I couldn't eat cheese because I'm lactose intolerant, he asked how I could eat eggs. I told him that lactose was found in dairy, which comes from cows. He vehemently rejected my explanation that eggs did not come from cows and were not dairy, and wouldn't believe me until he Googled it for himself. Story 2. My ex didn't think it rained over the ocean because there was enough water there already. She was shocked that it rained when we were on a cruise. Story 3. She didn't know how alcohol content percentages works. We argued for months that 10% as alcohol content remains the same even if you halved the bottle. She said, nope, if you halve the bottle, then the alcohol content will be 5%. She's an engineer graduate too. She works for a software firm for 12 years. Story 4. He kept applying for jobs and getting denied instantly. At the time, I didn't understand and was upset for him. Came to find out, this 26-year-old was applying for jobs, driving armored trucks for banks, with a record for stealing money from cash registers. I didn't know at the time that he had even been arrested, but this man literally had robbery and theft on his record, and couldn't understand why an armored truck company wouldn't hire him. Story 5. I was visiting my aunt one afternoon having tea, and I, 18 at the time, could overhear an argument between my cousin, 20 mil, and his dad when he shouted, I don't know why you keep blaming me, just because I'm the one who did it. I had to excuse myself. Story 6. I was watching a documentary with my boyfriend, which explained how sharks have electricity receptors, which they use to hunt. He said, that's not possible. Sharks are supposedly millions of years old, but we only invented electricity 100 years ago. If you are enjoying this content, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really do means a lot to me. Thank you. Now back to the stories. Story 7. My ex-girlfriend, in all seriousness, said electric vehicles and power stations were a great invention for people being blind. It has to be so much easier for them to drive if they don't have to fill the tank with gas, she said. It took her about half an hour of me laughing hysterically before she realized and understood why blind people, in fact, cannot drive. Story 8. He thought the outlet plug covers for childproofing meant the outlet was out of order. He literally had nothing plugged into the walls of his entire living room. He also mentioned how smart he was at any chance he got, usually a prime indicator. Story 9. My ex thought he could play hockey and found what he thought was the holy grail of skates. He bought them for $200. His friend, who lived in a city an hour and 20 minutes away, told him he got the same skates for $195, $5 cheaper. So my ex, in his old Camaro that cost $50 in gas round trip, returned the skates he got for $200 and drove 1 hour and 20 minutes to get the skates that were $5 cheaper. That should have been the biggest red flag, but sadly, it turned out I was the idiot who stayed with him for a few more years. Story 10. I had to explain to a grown woman that 20% is not always $20 when converted to currency. Story 11. My first boyfriend was trying to convince me to do butt stuff and told me it will feel good because it stimulates the prostate. I am female. Same guy who said it's the male kangaroo that has the babies. Bonus fact, we're Australian. Story 12. He was trying to make cookies and kept opening the oven for extended periods of time, letting out all the heat. When I told him he was letting all the heat out by opening the door wide open and staring at the cookies, he told me I didn't know how ovens work because the temp setter said 400, so it was at 400. Took an hour to bake one sheet of cookies and complained, I don't know why it's taking so long. Also insisted on doing this on Thanksgiving, tying up my oven, and was pissed off when he found out that the turkey would take 3 hours to cook. As I'm sure you can imagine, the relationship did not work out. Story 13. Was just lounging about one Sunday, and skiing came on the TV. At one point, the commentator said the contestants were reaching 100 kilometers an hour at that point in the race. My ex literally shouted BS at the telly. I looked at her and asked, why? She replied that there was no way that they could tell how fast they would go in an hour, since the race was only 2 minutes long. Another time, she said, I have an aunt who lives in London. Is that near England? Story 14. I introduced him to my stepsister. He said, weird, you guys look nothing alike. Story 15. It was 1999 and I was a Marine. My ex often asks, what is war like? How many wars have you fought in? When you jumped out of a plane into the enemy territory, didn't you think you might get a showdown? She asked these questions for months. I was asked what war is going on and what war I could have been fighting in. She was always super confused and would laugh and say that I will open up eventually, whatever that means. She told me that she told her mom when I got out I was going to make tons of money as a parachute repairman. To this day, I have no idea what she was talking about. I told her tons of times I never jumped and it was rare for Marines to be airborne. Story 16. It was when vampire-related shows and movies were in the height of their popularity. He became obsessed with vampires. When we would go outside, he started to act like the sun was hurting him, and he would shield his face with his hands while groaning in pain. Think of Jim from The Office with his vampire prank, only that my ex was way more dramatic and way more serious. Story 17. He put a load of laundry in with mixed colors and whites, poured in bleach to whiten the whites, and was shocked that the bleach bleached everything in the load. I had to explain that the bleach will bleach everything you put in as the bleach cannot discern what you want to bleach or not. He was shocked about bleach and couldn't bleach it. That's a lot of bleaches. Story 18. He told me he had a lot of quote unquote inventions and how rich he will be when one sells. I asked him to tell me more. He says his best invention is eye drops that, with just one application mind you, eliminate the need for eyeglasses. The guy is a mailman, not a doctor, not a scientist, and he wore glasses. So I said, if these eye drops work, why do you wear glasses? Well, the eye drops don't exist yet. But once someone else actually formulates these fantasy eye drops, my mailman friend thinks he will get the money because he invented them by dreaming them up. Story 19. I had an ex that became a nurse. She didn't believe in gravity. I thought she was joking, but she was not. She said, I think that everything has weight, but I don't believe in gravity. Story 20. I went on a couple of dates with a woman who owned two large energetic dogs. When she bought them, she was informed that she would need to walk them every day to get them exercise and burn off the extra energy. To save time, instead of walking them, she would take them for a drive and thought that accomplished the same thing. Thank you for watching and listening along. I hope you're having a lovely day or a lovely evening. I hope to see you again in the next video. Bye bye.